Will Wuthering Waves be dead on arrival? Interesting question, and something that Hex Juice seemed to be talking about in a recent video. And as somebody who is going to be covering a lot of Wuthering Waves content, very interested in the game itself, I wanted to go in and see what her take on the situation is. So let's dive in, see what she has to say, see if she's got some pretty base takes, or if maybe a couple of them are maybe a little bit problematic, as the kids like to say today. I'm just kidding. Let's just jump in and let's see what Hex Juice has to say about this.
I got a chat message yesterday saying something along the lines of, what do you think about content creators not hyping Wuthering Waves? I kind of had like an immediate sort of like frustrated reaction to that because my ass wants to make some Wuthering Waves content.
Well, and I would also add in there that I think a lot of content creators have been hyping it, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like Tectone talks about it in videos all the time, or at the very least, he brings the game up. I've seen a bunch of other content creators actually doing kind of reaction videos to the recent Resonator showcase and other things that have happened. So I wouldn't say that like nobody's looking at it. That seems like a little bit weird, but all right, let's keep going. Let's see what she has to say. I love this little animation piece here for the subscribe. Maybe I got to do one of these.
Is made by
we'll cut it. If I do it, we'll cut it in right now.
Games is the same company that made Punishing Gray Raven. People call it PGR.
Correct.
And PGR is sort of known for being a really good gacha game with really good combat that never got any large sweeping popularity or success, due primarily to the fact that it was not advertised properly, if barely at all.
I think that is a common criticism that gets thrown out there by a lot of people who have seen the game, maybe have not had a lot of direct hands-on experience or interaction with it. I will say, I think it's a lot of reallys. Like, I don't want to overhype the game for people. If you see this and now you're interested in maybe like giving it a try, like, it is a great game, don't get me wrong, but it's not like the second coming of Jesus. It's a good game, great combat, great characters, but don't overhype it, because then I don't think you're going to enjoy it if you overhype it. But it's great. It's a great game. I cover it a lot on the channel.
PGR could have and should have, I think, by most people's standards, done better. But the lack of advertising meant that most people don't even necessarily, like, a lot of people don't even know that it exists. And if they—
It's true. And then they do hilarious things where like, then they'll buy a billboard in like Times Square where they're advertising Bianca Stigmata, which just felt like, I don't know, really random to do something like out in public like that. Like, I don't know how effective like in-world marketing is for games like this. It just feels a little more niche anyway. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below if you think that was actually worthwhile spending that the company did.
If they did know that it exists, that doesn't mean that they've necessarily tried playing it. That was like sort of a concern.
A lot of people
for me
haven't tried
always, that this was a company that was known for making good games that they didn't advertise to make them popular. There was a—
Now, I want to get ahead of something here before I let her finish maybe some of these critiques here. Maybe I should let her cook a little bit longer. I will say, I think there's been a pretty big improvement on Kuro Games' strategy with Wuthering Waves, with a lot of the dev live streams that they've been doing, talking about the updates, taking the players' feedback. I think the Resonator showcases are done super well. The animation's fantastic. And the music that we've seen featured so far is also really good. And I don't know about you, but I've been seeing a lot of like ads for Wuthering Waves that have been like circulating a lot right now, that it seems like they're doing more of a push, more so than they did with PGR. But I don't know. Let's see where Hex is going with this.
The global launch trailer 3 weeks ago. They have posted this one Resonator showcase, which I will say, for the vast majority of content creators that did try to make content off of this, it did not do well. It didn't do that well for me. It didn't do well for a lot of people, but that is essentially it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I also did my own reaction video to that Resonator showcase, and it didn't do amazing. I mean, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below if you're interested in that kind of content, in like reaction to like those special animations and Resonator showcases. I feel like for a lot of other games, like even PGR does decently well from like a community engagement standpoint, but it seemed like Wuthering Waves is still kind of struggling in that department. What do you guys think about that? I don't know.
They said the release date and have almost not posted any marketing for the game almost at all. I think most people want Wuthering Waves to succeed, to do well. I don't know that very many people think that Wuthering Waves is going to kill Genshin or do better than Genshin during COVID. But
do you consider X a form of marketing? I'm just curious about that. Like, let's take a quick look. One sec here. Like when I scroll through their Twitter feed real quick, like 7 hours ago, 6 hours ago, they're highlighting the Resonator showcase, going over some more of the like kits and details for Encore, a couple of these other like cute special animations. So I feel like they are doing a decent amount of engagement. They probably could still use a little bit of work, but I just feel like there's still like a decent amount going around. A lot of fun like designs and animations that are still being released. But I mean, I still think it's an improvement, but yeah, maybe they still got a bit of ways to go there.
But most people, I think, want Wuthering Waves to be successful and, create some competition, do some new things, have a game that is actually really worth playing every day. And that is not going to happen if there is not advertising. Wuthering Waves is coming out in less than a month at this point, and we have gotten almost no new footage, almost no new anything since the beta test, other than this Resonator showcase for Encore.
They did do a private test to kind of go over some of the localization changes, which I covered in a previous video, some of the details surrounding that. But I guess there hasn't been like a ton of promotional content about it, which like, now that I think about it, might be a little bit more of a problem. I do also think it's really important to know what she was talking about there, that I do think a lot of gaming communities, it's like a symbiotic thing that needs to happen with the developers. Like, one, you need to have a good game that can stand on its own. I think Wuthering Waves does that pretty well. And then be able to open to collaborate with your community and content creators to kind of help with promoting the game. But you can't rely solely on the content creators to promote that game, because trying to pull content out of nothing can be really tough. Like, especially if you don't have a lot to like go off of, whether it's other previews, showcases, footage, or details that are being dropped. It can be really hard to be, keeping people excited for the game. Now, I do see some people talking a little bit about, kind of like the countdown. A lot of other content creators posting countdowns of like getting so close to the launch date of the game. So there's like definitely some people trying to carry the torch here. But yeah, I think they could use maybe a little bit more support from Curl in that. But maybe it's also just a consequence of like the game just needs to launch. Like, maybe the game needs to be there. More people need to get their hands on the game to kind of like help it give that boost. And I don't know.
Which I like the Resonator showcase, but it was not really what I was waiting to get from Wuthering Waves at this point. The first impression of anything is kind of the most important impression always. That's why your first impression at an interview is important, right? And I am extremely concerned if the first impression of Wuthering Waves gives flop, that it will have to be like content creators' responsibility to unflop it, which is essentially impossible.
I don't think Wuthering Waves itself gives like a flop impression in terms of like the gameplay and actually experiencing the game. I don't think it gives kind of like a flop like experience. However, one thing gacha players is they're fickle, and a lot of people want to feel like that whatever they're putting their money into, they can actually enjoy for a lot longer than it is. And so if you have fear that a game is going to like die, it's not going to go anywhere, if you're kind of a FOMO motivated person, which again I think is a lot of gacha players, and they're seeing that Wuthering Waves is going the direction, they get the impression that Wuthering Waves is going that direction, I could see a lot of people maybe holding off on some spending, at least for the first little bit, to kind of see where it goes. And yeah, if it doesn't necessarily go in the right direction, that maybe some people decide to shift that elsewhere. Unfortunately, with Wuthering Waves, competition's heating up. Zenless Zone Zero is on the horizon. Azure Premilia is on the horizon. Arknight's Enfield is on the horizon. I know some people got some mixed feelings about that, but yeah. So like FOMO is a thing, and you don't want to feel like you're losing your money. And so if they don't have enough momentum, I could see that being a problem. I don't think Hex is completely off base here. I don't think she's just trying to like poo-poo on the game or like anything like that. I think she's saying this from a place that she actually like cares about the game and wants to see the game do well, as do I. Like I really enjoyed the game. I really enjoyed the exploration, the combat. So I'm really excited to get back into it. But definitely concerns.
Because that is always going to end up being the talking point. Well, Wuthering Waves flopped on release. Am I supposed to take it seriously? It flopped on release. That's always going to be like, anybody who doesn't want to give Wuthering Waves their flowers or whatever are always going to say that. How do you market a game that is not marketing itself? Like, there are ways, but the reality of the situation.
Oh, look, it's got a subscriber. Congratulations, you made it into the video. Quick little interruption. Thank you so much to the patrons who support this channel. If you would like to support me and what I do here, you can join a link in the description down below. All right, back to the video.
Is that what you have to ask content creators to do? Fully generate content off of a game that is not released, that a lot of people have not played, that is interesting, that is realistically not gonna do that well because there is not enough hype for Wuthering Waves. And hope that once it releases, that time and money investment will be worth it. Because
yeah, like, look, I've been thinking about a lot of different kinds of content right now, things that I can create for you guys to enjoy. And one of the things that I've been kind of bumping into is like, when's the right time to put that together for you? Like, for example, if I want to talk about the ecosystem, well, no one's playing the game. So most people aren't looking up how to actually use the ecosystem right now. And they don't want to waste their time watching a video where like, oh, I'm going to have to rewatch this in 20 something days anyway. Right? Like, so it's really hard to find like what kind of content is engaging and entertaining for you guys about Wuthering Waves during this time. And it can be really tough to kind of help like keep that movement going. But yeah, like I said, let me know in the comments down below what parts of Wuthering Waves are you interested in and what would you like to see more of right now as we're leading up to the release of the game. I'd love to hear that in the comments down below.
as for me to make in-depth content about Wuthering Waves, I probably have to take a day off stream, do a bunch of research, look at some beta footage. I got to put together probably some form of like a script. I have to film it and I have to have it edited, most likely off stream. That is not really a super exciting concept for a lot of streamers when they already have games that they cover that they know they can make content for more quickly and get a better return on investment. It's a very difficult thing, and leaving it to creators to hype a game on their own is very rough.
Perfect example is this video right here, actually, just to give you a comparison. Hex was probably just speaking mostly from the heart during this video where she was just talking about her feelings and impressions about what's going on in Wuthering Waves. She had some footage that was put together. You can see it's just from IGN there that she had there. And she was able to sit there and talk, kind of share her hearts and thoughts and feelings about Wuthering Waves without needing to go through and do a bunch of research and scripting into this video. The time it would have taken Hex to record this video and kind of put her thoughts together in this way versus what she just outlined there from like a full research perspective and scripting with the, you know, B-roll timed in that way. It is like you're talking about hours of work, especially if you're like a solo content creator, like someone like myself, or I think she does most things solo herself too. The amount of hours it takes to script something, research, script, and put something together like that, it does take a long time, and it can be really demotivating if you spend that kind of time and energy into a video that gets, well, I don't know, 500 views. Like that can be tough. It can be really demotivating for content creators. Now, that's not to say like for a lot of content creators, this is their job. And so I understand like you should be willing to some degree to put that time in to make this your full-time career, and that, you know, if you want to make content that people want to watch, it's sometimes going to take that amount of time. I'm no stranger to doing that either, and I totally understand that. But especially for people like myself who I don't do this full-time, it can be really tough to justify that time and going into this. Like that's why a lot of people just do like pure reaction content. A lot of people do that. Like even Tectone has admitted in his videos that he doesn't do guide videos, but he reacts to guide videos. So he can learn things, his chat can learn things, and he's promoting another content creator. That's been his justification for it. So, and I think there's a reason he kind of went that direction. I'm not gonna lie. I see why he did that.
I can make, you know, hypothetical content about what I think about certain characters or certain analysis or whatever, but that's based off of beta stuff that was previous to what will be released from Wuthering Waves.
Especially when you consider characters like Janshin, who a lot of her kit is being reworked, and they've already said that. There's literally zero motivation to do any kind of Janshin guide content until we fully know what her new kit is going to be within the full release of the game. So it is kind of like we're just stuck in a limbo here a little bit.
So it's like, it's not a particularly attractive concept. The biggest meta around marketing a game like this is the drip marketing. It's how Hoyo does it, right? There are characters that I'm sure were not nearly as interesting to people until Hoyo started doing that really nice, really high quality, really interesting drip marketing. You're already having to compete with Genshin just by nature of being the same genre of game.
Yes.
This is like the only game that has ever been the same genre of Genshin, where it's this sort of open world anime RPG, you know, game. There's not another game that has been quite this similar to Genshin. There have been other games that have been, you know, gacha games that have similar qualities. There's been tower fantasy and stuff like that, but it's not that similar.
Yeah, I literally was gonna say that like, you know, Tower Fantasy is often brought up as the comparison, but it's not the same kind of RPG experience like you get from Wuthering Waves or like you get from Genshin Impact. Like I can think of some other games that people were hoping to do well, like Ni no Kuni Cross Worlds. But again, that was another MMORPG, very different kind of experience than what you're gonna get in this. So yeah, this is probably the closest like one-to-one competition that we're bumping into right now, at least right now. You know, it's gonna change in the future.
This is the most similar game. This is the most direct competitor to Genshin that has ever been released. And there's no marketing. We are going to have to—
Again, I wouldn't say no marketing. And also too, though, one thing I'm wondering, and this isn't necessarily for a content creator to solve, so I'm not going to put this all on the shoulders of Hex Juice here, but like, what more do you want to see from them, if that makes sense? Like, if I think of Hoyo versus drip marketing, for example, when they've got a character that's coming out, they'll usually do, I don't know, release the splash art for the character that's going to be coming in the next release. Maybe they've got a few other little details that are posted on social media and on Twitter, and then maybe some kind of special animation that comes out a little bit later, but that's kind of the only drip marketing that they do. It's just feels different because the game is already released and things are already happening, and that's happening in the future. So maybe they need to start dropping more things about new characters that are going to be coming. We've seen a lot of the kind of launch characters that are going to be there. Maybe we need to see more past, like Lian Lin and maybe Jian, who are going to kind of probably be the first two banners based on what we've seen so far in the beta testing. Maybe we just need to see past that a little bit more, and that could help a little bit. I don't know.
to go into a game. If they don't start picking up on marketing, we are going to get some people who will try Wuthering Waves and probably play until Zenless Zone Zero if they like Zenless Zone Zero, or they're not going to try it at all because there's not enough hype.
I think the only reason you might drop Wuthering Waves for Zenless Zone Zero is if you actually decided to go back to Genshin, because I think people aren't going to want to carry two open world exploration games. Like, I know some people have been saying, we want to play both Genshin and Wuthering Waves, and it's like, I feel like you'll get gassed really quick. It's so I don't see people carrying both of them. That's why I see them more as a one-to-one competition, because I don't think people are going to switch. Whereas like Zenless Zone Zero kind of fits in a niche of like, maybe you finished everything in Genshin, and so now you need something a little bit to fill your time, so you go and play Zenless Zone Zero or Honkai Star Rail, and I could see that being the case, but I don't know. I still have a hard time believing that people are going to carry two fully open world games. I don't know. Let me know if you plan on carrying both. I'm not.
I want to make content, but it's super difficult. It is super difficult to make content about a game where there is almost no material to make content off of. We're talking about a game. We're not talking about philosophy where we can just have thoughts about things. We are talking about a game that is going to release. How do we make content off of a game that is going to release where we only have footage that is out of date and there's no marketing, there's like nothing?
Yeah, you know what? That could be it too. I think we need to see more new build footage. Like, let's see more of those changes coming into effect. And maybe it's just they're crunching really hard right now and they don't have enough to show us, which is like, well, maybe that's a little bit concerning. But I think if they got some more, like, this is the current build release footage, this is what the new combat is, beyond what we just saw in the kind of like the developer showcase stuff, and that we can actually have more things to look at and get hyped about, that might help. It's kind of hard when the only thing we have is beta footage, when it feels like you're looking at beta footage that, well, this is irrelevant because it's beta, it's not the full launch, you know?
Marketing prior to the game coming out is very important. I don't want to be having worries about the game. I want to go, let's go Kuro Games. I can't fucking wait.
I mean, it's true. I still do that from time to time, but true.
Right. Well, we can't do that when they don't release anything, and all we can do is like generate hopeful content for the future that will still hold up. Because
again, I'm not going to put the burden of this all on Hex. I like Hex. She's got some really good takes on a lot of things. But again, what do you want to see? What do content creators want to see that would help with building that motivation and momentum? Like, I honestly want to put that question out there, because I don't know if I necessarily have all the answers, but like, I don't know. What is it? What's the special sauce here? And then like, and it can't just be like, well, like Genshin's drip marketing. What is it?
my goal was to have a bunch of woo-wah videos out before before the game releases, because I would like to very much invest my time and energy into this game because I'm really, really excited for it. But there's a very high difficulty in making content with no content about the game out. Like, what are we supposed to make anything about?
I will be having more Wuthering Waves content leading up to the release of the game. So make sure to drop a like and subscribe, because more of that is on
I'm concerned that the lack of marketing for this game is going to make it less and less attractive to make content for this game when it comes out, or to fully invest in this game as a content creator before it comes out. And I want Wuthering Waves to succeed very badly because I liked Genshin. I loved playing Genshin. It's an experience that is one of my favorite gaming experiences I ever in a million years. There's not a lot of gaming experiences that compare for me to Genshin Impact. And so, like, I want to play this game because if this is Genshin Impact, but without all of the shit that made Genshin Impact shitty, I am about it.
Red flag. Red flag on the play. Warning. Content warning. I think Hex is unfortunately might be making a big mistake here. And again, I like Hex, but like, I think one of the biggest mistakes that anybody could make going into Wuthering Waves is expecting it to give you the full magical experience of Genshin Impact. Genshin Impact is a product of a specific time and place and overall cultural situation coming out during the coof, you know, during a time when everybody was locked in their homes, nobody had anything to do, and it was this new, free, open world experience that felt magical. It was a breath of fresh air, and it captured a particular moment in time so well that I don't think any other game might be able to kind of capture that magic in the same way, strictly speaking from like a geopolitical perspective and how that was influencing things. I'm in Canada and it was bad. We were locked down like crazy. So if you needed something to get out of the house, like having something like Genshin that was kind of this like comfy, cozy exploration game, it did something magical for you. And I think if you go into this game thinking I'm gonna get the same comfy, magical experience that I'm gonna get from the first time I played Genshin, I don't think that's gonna happen. I honestly don't. And I think people who are expecting to get the exact same magic, you can't. It's literally impossible because that experience has already happened with Genshin. I think this can still be a fantastic experience. I think you can still really enjoy it. And I still think it will be a lot of fun. But if you're looking for that first time, you know, you can't get your first back. You know what I mean when I say that. Like, you have your first and then it's done. It's locked in. That's how these things work. And for a lot of people, Genshin was their first. And so I don't think you're going to get that from Wuthering Waves. It is a good game. Having played hands-on with the beta, it is a good game. Good game. However, don't expect it to be Genshin. Don't expect to get the same feeling as Genshin because it's different. It is its own thing. It's its own product. I gotta throw that one out there. That's a misstep in my books. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I think that's a big misstep.
Genshin Impact, but without all of the things that made Genshin Impact not that good and not that fun. Like, gacha games are supported very, very specifically and very heavily by the content creators that make content for those games.
That is true.
And if content creators don't see the game as being a profitable and worthwhile venture, they'll probably just go to Zenless Zone Zero, or they'll go back to Honkai Star Rail or Genshin. And there's not necessarily a fix for this. I'm going to go ahead and try and make more Wuthering Waves content. I don't really care. I want to play this game so badly. Even if it does terrible for my channel, I might just continue playing it because I'm really excited. So that's my point. I am concerned for the game. They need to start putting out more advertising more aggressively. If that takes the place of getting some advertising from creators, if that takes the place of doing a creator beta, I don't care. Please. Honestly, my genuine hope at this point that this is a completely irrelevant video like 3 days after I post it. But
yo, same. I wonder if there's any kind of like, or what kind of restrictions are on that content creator server right now. And maybe everybody's just like loading the chamber right now. So when we get like, you know, within the week of launch, if we're going to start seeing a flood from a lot of these content creators that have access to that content creator server, 100% I could see that being the case. Like, you know, starting on like what, the 15th of May, all of a sudden we're seeing like Calgary Arrow Guide, Encore Guide, Jianshin Guide. Like we're seeing all those things start dropping around that time. Echo Guides, like from all like, you know, the usual suspects, we'll call them. I could totally see that being the case. Make sure to drop a like and subscribe on Hex Juice's channel, guys. Like I said, I think she's got some pretty base takes on a lot of things. I really enjoy her content. I only recently came across her within the last like 6 months or so. I think she's really great, so make sure to go ahead and do that. But let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Are you concerned about the current trajectory of Wuthering Waves, or do you think it's still moving in a pretty good direction and we just need to get to launch? I'd be interested to hear your thoughts down there. If you made it this far in the video, I greatly appreciate you and your time. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.